Okay, basement, week 3, sort of. Week 3 and 4, sort of. Timing's a little weird because there's only been 1 week of work since the last time, not including a day that we spent painting on our own that the contractors didn't do. But it's actually been about 3 weeks or so since the last time I recorded one of these. But more importantly, the 1 week of work that the contractors did was twice as many days. It was 6 days. Versus the previous 2 videos, which were 3 days of work each. So this is kind of like 2 weeks worth of work. I was hoping to do something in the middle, but there was no break. So let's just move on. Basement's pretty much done. Let's check it out. The main work left to do is a lot of like odds and ends and caulking and stuff. You can see here there's still gaps around the window frames. So obviously, besides painting it, we're gonna need to seal this entire area with acoustical caulk, which is kind of like regular caulk, except it stays a little spongier. It never gets quite hard, so it's a better sound insulator. We're gonna be doing that in here, and then in all the cracks along here. We're gonna be sealing that as well. So hopefully that'll be enough to keep the noise out from the neighbors. All of the outlets, this is the one we haven't done yet, but we've been taking acoustical caulk as well, and on the outside, you never wanna fill the inside of the box. On the outside, we're doing a border of acoustic caulk around there as well. What I should have done is they make acoustic fireproof padding. It's like this thick, like Play-Doh looking stuff that goes on the outside of the workbox. Because the problem is that these workboxes have little holes on the inside where the wires pass through. And sound can actually go in through those holes and then out. So by sealing this at least, and also I'm going to be putting some padding in this area, that should do a decent job of it. But yeah, that's one of the main lessons I learned after the fact is I should have worked with them to do putty pads around the whole thing. Otherwise, yep, we got ceilings up. We painted, then they did more construction, so you can see little flaws in the paint where we have to redo stuff. Like we're gonna have to paint all of this. So these are the doors and the door seals. Never stained a door before, so pretty happy with how these turned out. These are alder solid core, solid wood, not even composite on the inside. So they do a pretty decent job of keeping sound out. Also, the important thing is that these door seal kits are put on here. So this is a full rubber seal that goes around the entire perimeter of the door here. And then on the bottom, right now, there's no rubber on the bottom, but what happens is when you close the door, you push this in because the pressure of the door frame. So let's see if we can get an image of that real quick. So when you shut the door, that pin gets pressed in, and then the rubber goes down at the bottom, creating a seal. The other thing that the contractor did was in the gap between the frame and the wall behind this molding, you know, there's always a little bit of a gap, so we filled this in with some foam that's insulation so that there's no hollow areas in here. It's as solid as it can be, all things considered. So anyway, let's take a look at the full control room. Kind of echoey right now. I'm in bad need of acoustic treatment, but I'm gonna wait on that for a little bit. I wanna do a little bit of sound tests, see what exactly I need. I mean, obviously, at the very least, I'm gonna need some bass traps in the corners and at least one panel on the walls. But I kind of want to see where everything is gonna sit first. So here's the core 24 tracks of audio in this box. This is eventually gonna get mounted up here. We drilled the holes already, so I need to fill this up now. Originally, the hope was that the cable was gonna be able to go out of the back of here, and I was gonna be able to mount this directly over. But the issue we ran into was that for all my boxes, except for one, the cable is, you know, too thick. I thought I was going to be able to like kind of tuck it between the walls, but that would have messed with the insulation too much and I couldn't do it. So plan B is I'm going to, you know, fill this in as best as I can. You know, more insulation, some foam, some sealant, some spackle, and then mount this up here, and then we'll just tie this neatly up. This one's the same deal, except the excess cable is on the other side in the control room. This is the microphones, and then this is 3 channels of instrument pass-through and 3 channels of speaker cable pass-through. So over here, we have the other two boxes. This is 4 more channels of microphone pass-through. And you know, the microphones could also be used for headphones as well if I just use a 1/4" adapter. And then here's 2 more channels of instrument and 2 more channels of speaker. So even though the primary purpose of this room is 1, to be a closet, and 2, to be a soundproofing buffer for my neighbor that's right next door, if I ever do need to record a live band and have their amps playing as opposed to, you know, a lot of the time if you're recording a band and you're doing the drum tracks, the guitars aren't keeper tracks. So you can just, you know, have like lined in scratch guitars or something with an amp sim. But if we ever do want to actually have a real amplifier and have a keeper take, then I could put the amplifiers in here. I could even put one on this wall, one on that wall, put a gobo in between them or something. So yeah, this room is kind of double function. And then just, you know, these boxes again will be up on the wall here, neatly tied these cables up. This is the one box that actually on both sides I'm going to be able to have the cable in between the wall. So that's nice at least. I'm pretty happy with the way the coloring turned out in here. Kind of wasn't that sure what the flooring was going to look like, but the light floor mixed with the dark wound up being a pretty good choice. Obviously I've got to paint all this. Also, lighting. I've got hue bulbs up here, so if I want to get moody in here, I can switch to other color scenes. Let's go to City of Love. This one is called City of Love. I guess, sure. This is Ruby Romance. So I've got all kinds of options. I can do City of Love, I can do Ruby Romance, I can do whatever you want to do in here. Okay, so heading back through. Here's our laundry room. It's fantastic. There's a cup of coffee in it, so that's nice. This is our other closet that I can just fill with tools. I'm already filling it with tools and junk. So there's some nice flowers, so enjoy. Okay, so getting back to the important stuff, here's the studio control room. Again, just like those other 2 rooms, got the door seal in here. We've got our acoustic window between the 2 rooms. So this is I think one of the panes of glass is 3/4, and the other one is effectively 1/2 inch. I think it's actually 2 1/4" panes of glass. The other side is on an angle and this side is straight, and there's an air gap in between them. So the soundproofing is pretty good. If I remember to do it, I'm going to cut to an edit here of me screaming in the other room about this loud. Ah! I hope you enjoyed that. Okay, switching back to my lavalier mic. You can see here the acoustic sealant that I was talking about before. This is what we did on the perimeter of all the work boxes. So the only area where sound can leak through is the hole that's on the inside there. You know, there's a gap there, and you know, this has 8 Ethernet cables going through, so it's not too bad. But other ones that only have like a single power cable, some sound can get through, so it's not ideal. Live and learn. Here's the other side of my mic boxes. This was super annoying to hook up, especially because when I first hooked it up, I wasn't thinking about the directionality of the XLRs, so I had the wrong side of this box in the wrong room, so I had to hook it. After I hooked everything up, I had to unhook it, swap them, and hook them back in. But basically, these have a bunch of E3 connectors, which is like a little plastic piece, so I could have the box on one side, feed the cable through, have the box hook up on the other side. And then here's where the instrument and speaker cables pass through on this side. So the idea is that along this wall is going to be where the amplifiers are. Going to have a rack here, which is going to have some bass heads, because bass heads are often either rack mountable or small enough that they fit on the shelf of a rack, except for my SVT, which is going to have to be on top of it. And then over here, we're going to have the rack with guitar heads. And then some kind of amp selector or 2. In the future, 2 of them. So I can have 1 amp selector for the bass and 1 amp selector for the guitars. The next one of these videos won't be for a little bit because the construction is for the most part done, besides just finishing up these little pass-throughs and stuff, and caulking all the windows and whatever. And, you know, I've got a caulk up here as well, because, you know, we had some caulk at the corner there, but I'm going to be extra safe, at least on this wall, and seal up the top here. But otherwise, it's mainly going to be about getting my desk, which isn't going to arrive for about a month, unfortunately, and the rest of the furniture, wiring up all the instruments. So it's going to be a little bit, but I will check in eventually again once everything is set up.